Hi, I'm Stacey Zelli, Meat Science Extension Specialist here at Purdue University, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to make a marinade or a sauce for meat. Now, a marinade is very different from a sauce. A marinade's intention is to try and help obviously add flavor, it can add juiciness, but it can also tenderize. Now, one thing to realize is that if we want that tenderizing action, that's really only going to happen in our thinner pieces of meat or smaller pieces. You're really not going to be able to put a steak or a whole roast into a marinade and expect it to suddenly become tender. Marinades take some time in order to penetrate. So if you've got more surface area, like your small little pieces, let's say for a kebab, or maybe some of your long strips that you use for a stir fry, you can take some of those cuts that would be a little less tender and marinate them for a couple hours. And all of a sudden now you've really been able to add some tenderizing action. As far as our types of marinades, they really break down into three basic types. And I'm going to start with our lowest to our highest tenderizing. A dairy marinade is a great example of one that doesn't necessarily add maybe a lot of tenderizing action. There's calcium in it, which is nice. It does help some of our enzymes tenderize a little bit, but it's going to be much more mild. It's more about giving you that creaminess flavor. So maybe you've seen, not necessarily in ranch dressing, but maybe like buttermilk or coconut milk marinades at the base. And again, those are going to be nicer for your flavor. They're not really going to necessarily tenderize so much. The next one up would be our acidic-based marinades, and those are going to be ones that use vinegar or some of our citrus fruits or juices at the base. So maybe lemon or lime or orange juice. This is where Italian dressing falls in this category as well. Those acidic-based ones are going to use acid to truly break down some of those muscle proteins, and again, are going to have a tenderizing action. These you generally have to be in, depending on the size of your pieces of meat, these you can use overnight, and that'll give you a good tenderizing action. The third kind is going to be our enzyme-based marinades, and those are ones that are going to actually use tropical fruits at the base, particularly fresh papaya, fresh pineapple, or fresh figs actually have a very strong enzyme that break down muscle proteins really nicely. Now, if you're using a canned version like I have here, a canned pineapple, it still packs a little bit more of a punch than, let's say, an acidic marinade. It's not quite as powerful as if it was fresh. So again, going from least to most tenderizing action, your tropical fruits are going to be very tenderizing. Your acidic ones will be nicely tenderizing, and your dairy ones, not so much. So that's why you can leave things in a dairy marinade for over 24 hours, and you really won't have a mushiness that will form. We do our acidic ones generally overnight, and a lot of your enzyme-based marinades, you really only want to be in there for a couple of hours, maybe 4 hours tops. Any one of these can be a great way, and again, to add some tenderness and of course flavor and juiciness to your product as well. Whenever you are using a marinade with your meat, remember when you've taken the meat out, that still had raw meat in it. So we don't want to add that as a sauce. If you want to create a sauce out of that, it needs to go onto the stove and make sure you get it to a rolling boil for at least 10 minutes. And that'll make sure we've killed any microorganisms that could have grown or possibly been presented to it. Thank you for joining us on the Meat Minute.